Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 17th, and right now we are looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. We've got Washington State, there's Oregon. Check it out. The thunderstorm activity is already starting. A little bit of overperformance from the system already, taking on its negative tilt here, and this is going to be moving up across the Oregon Cascades, up across western Washington, possibly up into southwest BC into the early morning hours tomorrow. We're going to take a look at all these details in this much talked about and anticipated storm. Been talking about this for what, 6 or 7 days so far already. So yeah, it is finally here, Saturday, August 17th. Taking a look at what we've done since yesterday morning, picking up over 560 subscribers. And again, I just want to extend my thanks to everybody who checks back and watches this channel on a daily basis. This channel is not possible without you. So looking at the Spokane National Weather Service, they put out a nice graphic here this morning. This is hot off the presses. There's the 7 p.m. line. There's the storms here by 9 p.m. in the blue dashed, and the 11 p.m. here could include Spokane, Omak, and up towards Bellingham by the time you get towards the midnight hour. But you can also see the marginal risk here is in green. Then we have that rare slight risk across some of the Washington Cascades down through the Oregon Cascades. That is a hail and a wind threat. There is an argument that could be made for some gusty winds across some of the Puget Sound and the North Puget Sound also. But you can kind of argue why they would leave that out as well. But anything over 40 miles per hour at this time of year with fully leaved trees could cause some damage and some power outages. More on that here in a moment. This is Medford, Oregon. Of course, this is starting across portions of Northern California and Southern Oregon. Significant lightning is expected. You could have some urban flooding. You could have some debris flows and some burn scar area flooding across active fires for the Oregon Cascades as well. Taking a look at Pendleton, cloud to ground strikes, erratic gusty outflow winds. You could have some new fire starts. So not everybody is going to get a washout from the system. You know, some isolated areas of heavy rain, but places east of the mountains, you do have that fire start potential with some of these lightning strikes. Now, again, taking a look at the slight risk, the rare slight risk here across the Pacific Northwest, that is a wind and a hail threat here. The 15% means a 15% chance of a severe wind gust with any given point. There's a 25-mile radius around that point. There's a 15% chance. It gets kind of complicated there, but yeah, it's kind of an interesting setup here across the Pacific Northwest. We don't often get severe weather, and for the Storm Prediction Center to call this out means it's a pretty dynamic system. We're going to look at some of those numbers here in a moment. But taking a look at day two, I just want to point this out. There is a thunderstorm threat here across the region tomorrow as well. It's not what we're dealing with today, but there could be a few lightning strikes. And then day three, they put it across North Cascades. But let's take a look at what is coming today. And if we put this into motion, that's about 7 a.m. The NAM, the North American model, picking up on some of this thunderstorm activity here across the Willamette Valley up towards Portland, and maybe underdoing things here across some of the coastal range already. But you can see some of this action could be moving into some of southwest Washington as we go through the late morning hours, moving up across the Olympic Peninsula. Some of these clouds will be drifting by, and you'll see that if you're a Portland, Seattle metro, but you're also going to be dealing with some sunshine, and it's going to warm up pretty well today for some areas. But then the main show arrives as we go through the afternoon hours and we start to really develop these thunderstorms across the Oregon Cascades. And again, these will be pushing north. You can clearly see this on the simulated infrared satellite imagery. This big cluster of storms is going to be moving across western Washington by the time we get towards 8, 9, 10 p.m. and moving up across the region here. So this kind of gives you a nice visual diagram of what the infrared satellite imagery may look like as we go through tonight. And those could move up into southwest BC very early tomorrow morning. So taking a look at the accumulated max 10-meter wind gusts. The models have kind of been all over the place. Some of the models have been showing some pretty impressive gusts for western Washington, across the Cascades, and out east. But if we put this into motion here, we're going to go through the afternoon hours, and you see the winds come up from the south and really rip across some of eastern Washington, eastern Oregon. And it's been back and forth. Again, it's not showing too bad for the Puget Sound in the most recent run, but still, there's some gusts up over 40 miles per hour, which, like I said, can cause some damage this time of year. And the 0Z was actually a little bit stronger as of last night on the North American model, but stay tuned for the HER, and we're going to show that here. This is the 80-meter wind speed on the left versus the 0.6Z of the HER on the right. So if I put this into motion, you're going to clearly see this activity start to surge up across from the Oregon-Washington Cascades. There comes a strong wind gust ripping out into eastern Washington through the gorge, eastern Oregon, and then you see these strong winds move across the Puget Sound. You could see at times some of these model runs have been showing some very strong winds. In excess of 60 miles per hour was showing up at times in some of the HRRR runs, but that would be very isolated. It's not going to be a widespread windstorm like what we get in some of the fall and winter months, but you could have some damaging wind gusts here across western Washington. And you see that surge move up past Everett, Camino Island, up towards Bellingham, and the models have been showing a pretty good burst of wind moving across some of the San Juans, Bellingham area into southwest BC, especially over the open waters. And hopefully you're not going to be out that late at night on a boat, but if you are across the Puget Sound, you might want to postpone whatever you're doing out there at that time. Now, taking a look at, this is a most unstable cape/shear. So as we go through the day today, see the instability really build across the Oregon Cascades, Washington Cascades, and towards Seattle here. Also, then we kind of go through Sunday. We'll still be unstable and maybe a thunderstorm or two there. But we have a pretty well-sheared environment, especially in that slight risk area. And that could extend up across the Washington area as well. So if we take a look here, you'll see that we have a pretty good unstable area. It's about 10,000 feet here. The cloud bases are going to be fairly high. This was picked right near Seattle, and the tops are going to be quite dramatic as well, possibly up towards 35,000 feet or so. Steep mid-level lapse rates, a lot of instability aloft. And if you notice this, at the surface, you're fairly dry. You've got a pretty good dew point temperature depression, and so you've got what's known as an inverted V. So once you get these updrafts going, once they start dropping down in the atmosphere, there may not be much stopping them. And that's why we could get some severe wind gusts, as the atmosphere just kind of plunges down and mixes down some of those wind gusts from the above layer there, the instability. And you can also see the strong winds in the unstable layer there, the shear and the turning in the atmosphere. So there could be some supercellular structures across some of the Oregon and the Washington Cascades. So if you're out there camping and whatnot, and you see some crazy shelf cloud action, put that on Twitter or send it to me. Now, looking at the North American model, this is just off the surface. So this is what's kind of concerning. Even though the North American model has, quite a bit less wind speed versus the HRRR, I want to show you something here that's going on just above the surface at 2,500 feet. There come these strong winds across the gorge, Washington, Oregon Cascades, and look at these winds surge northward here. So you're getting some pretty strong winds. You're getting some sustained winds over 40 knots just off the surface. So if those mix down, you can really get some nasty winds across western Washington. I mean, look at some of these wind gusts here with that southerly surge as we're going through tonight. So keep your wits about you as this storm system moves through. Kind of expect it to be windy out there. And if it doesn't, then, but thumbs up for that. You didn't get hit. Now, looking at the timing of the precipitation, let's look at the raw model data here. You can see the North American model here on the left, picking up that thunderstorm activity nicely across, again, some of the Willamette Valley that's ongoing right now. I think I counted 6 thunderstorms currently ongoing already across western Oregon. The models are clearly underdoing that, and the high-resolution model as well. So if I put that into motion, you see some of this activity moving up into Washington. Those could be packing some lightning here as we go through, about the noon hour right there. And then the HRRR shows this on the Oregon coast. And we start to scroll through the afternoon, and then the models agree that we're going to be building this activity across the Oregon Cascades. By about 6 p.m., it's moving into southern Washington, and you can see right over the Portland Metro, and some really nasty action here. Frequent lightning would be associated, and some very gusty winds for some of the gorge, maybe the Dalles down there, Oregon-Washington border. And then you see this move up across the Cascades of Washington. Very heavy precipitation, frequent lightning, cloud-to-ground lightning, dangerous lightning. And then you can see this moving over Seattle. This is about 10 p.m. right there. So there's 9 and 10. I'm just going back and forth between 9 and 10 as this moves across the Seattle Metro and up across western Washington, and potentially some lightning up for southwest BC as we go through the early morning hours tomorrow morning. And then as we scroll on through Sunday, there's also going to be some instability, but let's just worry about one thing at a time. We'll go over that probably, tomorrow morning. But there is the chance. Now, if we look at the European, this is lightning flash density potential. So this is about 7 right here. It did pick up a little bit of this, but a little bit too far south. And then it shows some of this activity moving up to Washington with the initial round. But then the big show comes here across the Oregon, Washington Cascades. Pretty good model agreement between the European and the NAM and the high resolution model as far as the precipitation moving northbound, and maybe even another round coming very early Sunday morning for some portions of the Puget Sound, and then maybe this moves up towards British Columbia. So looking at the high resolution rapid refresh now, lightning flash density potential, we're covering all our bases here, but you can see prolific lightning producing storms moving up across the region. Pretty good agreement on that front. Now looking at precipitation, this is 3-hour precipitation in inches. And again, the North American model doing a good job with the early thunderstorms across the region. Put that into motion and look at this with these ongoing fires across some portions of Oregon. These are very intense precipitation rates just falling mostly in an hour period, but you can see the HUR is quite a bit different, even though it's got some impressive amounts kind of embedded in here. The NAM is definitely on the more robust side as far as this precipitation. In fact, I'm going to update that because I think we have more data to look at, and you can see the NAM kind of moving all that activity up across some of the Seattle metro. But look at that, some pretty impressive rates. You could get some urban flooding here with these rates across some of the Seattle metro. So, keep your eyes out for that as well. And actually, as we go through Sunday afternoon, you can kind of see the instability tomorrow across some of the southern Puget Sound moving up there and across the region. So it might get some thunderstorms tomorrow also, maybe a 1-2 punch. There's also an excessive rainfall outlook here for the reason I just showed you. The North American model has it for the Cascades, Oregon, and up into Washington here with some pretty impressive 1-hour precipitation rates. Now, if we look at Mount Hood, you can see you get all that rainfall in a pretty short period of time here. So some of the ensembles are definitely higher than the mean, which is normal, and then the control run is down here around 1/4 of an inch. So it's going to kind of be hit and miss. We look at Seattle, Tacoma, check it out. Now the control run has up over 6, almost 7/10 of an inch of rain. Pretty impressive for August. The mean is somewhere right around 1/2 an inch or so, with some potential for higher for individual locations. Vancouver International Airport as well. You can see the surge of precipitation arrive as we go through tomorrow morning. This is Puyallup, Washington. You can see some pretty heavy precipitation amounts coming off the Cascades for us tonight. Now, take a look at what's going on here. We've been talking about this for days now. The upper level low, we're looking at 18,000 feet or 500 millibars. This is what's swinging up across the region. Then we kind of get a little bit of a wobble here as we go through Sunday. And then that one kicks off, but then it quickly gets replaced by another. And the Europeans kind of been back and forth. Yesterday, it had this low further out and further south. And this one kind of moves right over the top of the Pacific Northwest. We'll worry about that here in the upcoming days. Taking a look quickly at the smoke, vertically integrated smoke. So as the precipitation moves up today, you can kind of see it helping out with the fires a bit. And we get a bit of a break from the smoke as we go through tomorrow. But then you can see these, it's not going to totally extinguish these fires, and they'll still be kind of smoldering and trying to flare up again here as we go on in through early Monday morning. So National Blend of Models, check it out. I mean, it's going to feel pretty warm here for some areas, Western Washington, especially if you don't have any cloud cover. You could be up towards 80 degrees, maybe into the low 80s for some regions. And again, Seattle, Tacoma, and then we got to deal with some troughing around here as we go on in through next week. Taking a look at the 6 to 10 day, we got the below normal here across some of the west coast, above normal precipitation, troughing remaining in the area. But then look at the 8 to 14 day. We start to bring the above average as we go through the last week of August there. So we're probably going to end the month above average here across the region, above average precipitation showing up there as well. No telling how that's going to turn out as far as the monthly totals are concerned. But yeah, as you can see, there's quite a few fires out there ongoing, and the rain doesn't like to just soak right into those surfaces that are freshly burned, and then that water gets moving, and then enough of it gets collected, and it starts to really gouge out some huge muddy portions, and that can really cause those debris flows across the higher terrain. So if you are out there camping and you are near a burn scar area, or if you have burn scar areas or active fires that are higher elevation than you are, and you're around those areas, please have your heads up today. But yeah, let's go ahead and update this and look at this one more time. Actually, look at this, another one off to the east, the Portland Metro there. It's getting closer to the near the Vista House there, or towards the gorge. As you can see, that one just popped up here as well. So these will probably be moving into Washington. Again, the storm is already overperforming, and we're going to have quite the lightning show tonight across the region. So get your cameras ready. Get your time lapses ready and whatnot, and keep your wits about you as we go through tonight. And just kind of passing things along, is not everybody is going to see these gusty winds across the region. Some of you guys just might see the distant lightning flashes and get some rain, and then the thing moves through. And some of you guys are going to be dealing with much stronger winds and some more, some close nearby lightning strikes, and maybe some bigger hail, or maybe some urban flooding, and you'll see water across the roadway and things of that nature. So all these possibilities are going to happen today, most likely. Just because you're not in the thick of it does not mean that it was not impactful for other people. So just try to keep that in mind. But anyway, I'm probably going to do a live stream at some point tonight. I'll get out there and try to cover some of these storms. I may even do another video later this afternoon when we get some more model data, and we'll see what the thunderstorms are doing depending on the timing of what's coming up here. I got a soccer game I have to attend here in a couple hours. But anyway, otherwise, I hope you guys are ready for the storm. We'll do this all again either tonight or tomorrow, or I'll do a live stream tonight. Still not sure what we're going to do. Not sure what I'm even going to set up yet tonight, but I will be out chasing this storm. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Otherwise, click like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later.